Happy spooky season, bookworms! Halloween is right around the corner, and what better way to celebrate than to crack open some classic horror stories? That's why today we'll be talking about Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Who doesn't know the story, at least to some degree? Victor Frankenstein, obsessed with all things science, brings a corpse to life only to abandon his experiment from fear. His creation later returns to him after murdering his younger brother and framing their family friend. After telling Victor of his multiple attempts to reach out to man, only to be shunned and hunted at every turn, the creature demands that Victor make him a wife of his own design. When Victor fails to deliver, his creature swears revenge. I think it goes without saying that this book is good. It wouldn't be a classic if it wasn't. But I don't think you can fully appreciate how good it is until it's in your hands. Something that stood out to me right from the first page was that despite being over 200 years old, it was still very easy to read. It was detailed, and that can definitely turn some people off, but to me, the dialogue was old-fashioned without an excessive amount of slang that would have dated it. I also really enjoyed how gray both Frankenstein and the monster were. The monster is perhaps the more despicable of the two, but Victor is no angel. He was more than a little egotistic, caring more about the glory of being the first person to create life than actually understanding the responsibility that came with it. Once the deed is done, he shies away from his responsibilities. The monster comes off very sympathetic, as he mirrors an abandoned child. Frankenstein gave him life only to shun him. The monster had to learn how to provide for himself, and had to teach himself to speak by listening in on another family. Every interaction with mankind only served to hurt him, and it made his hatred completely understandable. But despite everything, the monster is willing to put his hatred behind him. When he asks Frankenstein to make him a wife, he swears in exchange, his own idea, to flee to a remote location with his wife and never act against a human again. When all is said and done, the monster is the greater evil of the two. Frankenstein never kills anyone, but somehow the monster remains the more sympathetic one. But that's also just how I see it. That's another thing that's great about this book. There's a lot that people could disagree about. There's a reason they make you read about it in high school. It's a great debate piece. I also thought that the character of Henry Clerval was extremely underrated. He was a bit of an unsung hero, caring for Victor at his lowest moments and being a bit of a guiding light for him. He's everything that Victor isn't, compassionate, honorable, and guided by a desire to do good, while Victor is selfish, immoral, and driven by his desire for glory. Despite being such an important foil to Victor, he kind of fades into the background, especially when the monster comes back into the story. But that does make what happens to him more shocking. I don't know about the rest of you, but I had completely forgotten that he dies. It probably should have been obvious. I remembered the other deaths, but not his. Either way, it was nice to be surprised. As far as anything I didn't like, I thought that the ending was a little abrupt. The monster's final monologue is great, but then it just ends with him jumping out a window. It just felt off to me. Victor spent his final days with a man called Walton. I wish that Walton had followed the monster and witnessed him set himself on fire, or that it had just ended with the monologue. Honestly though, those are pretty minor things. Frankenstein is a solid 9 out of 10. Definitely the kind of book that you come back to. But now I want to hear your thoughts. What did you guys think about Frankenstein? Let me know in the comments what books you'd like me to review next, and I'll see you in the next one.